Alright, now don't do me like this. Alright, start screen. Don't you do me like this now. You've been acting funny for the last few times. I'm gonna need you not to do that. Come on now. At this point, this is about to get on my last nerves. Hate it. Alrighty. So it did exactly what I didn't want it to do. So my start soon screen just went out on me. So why does this happen to me every time? Hate it here. Hate it here. But all that to say, good morning, you all. And yes, I did post on Twitter and Blue Sky that Friday I will not be streaming because I have to be an active family member. I meant that. I'm serious. I meant that. And also OBS is not being my best friend right now. My start soon screen disappeared. You know. I'm getting a little hope. Yay! We're in there. Yay! Now please stay up there as long as possible. Yay! Oh fuck. Well, you guys saw it briefly. Hate it here. But what do I have to say? Don't do me like this, Clip Studio Paint. Studio Paint, don't. If you do it, Clip Studio Paint. I need you to be on your best behavior too, because OBS isn't being on its. All right, let me give it a few more minutes. No, screw it. Let's get this over. Let's do this. Hey, you guys. Welcome to Rough Draws. I'm Ready, and this is where I stream my art and share my story times from Twitch into YouTube with all of you. Those watching on YouTube VODs, hey, you guys on YouTube. Some of these stories start off good, and the endings, depending on how the story goes, it may have a little twist. Now, in every story, Karu is me. Always going to be me. That is a fact. But not many people know my webtoon, Where Love Began, A Journey Within, is actually based off of real life experiences that happened in my life. But for legal purposes, we're not going to use their real names. We're going to use their character that they're based on name. But if you want to follow my social media, my art journey, you can follow me in my social media handles in the in the bio. All right, let's get this on the way. Do me like this, Clip Studio Paint. Do me like this, Clip Studio Paint. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but it is what it is, right? Got that in there? Yeah. Alright, let's start with today's story. Well, since I'm doing a different story this time around. Now, these stories are based off of after I left college. So, this is basically this is the retelling of the Nightshift Chronicles. This is chapter 1. This is when I first started doing night shift at one of my jobs, specifically a local food chain. Ironically enough, that's where Karu met Corvinia. At the time, Corvinia and Karu both worked at the same local restaurant. Job was soul sucking, soul draining. If you know, you know. But somehow, in many ways, we survived. And also, if you're wondering, today I do not have it out. Because life is life, and people start asking me to do a lot of things. But I digress. Back to the story. It was 4 in the afternoon. And you see, at that job, 4 to 5 is where they start night shift. Okay? We'll add that in there. Now, this is actually the same day I met Corvinia. Ironically enough. Don't do me like this. Ironically enough, that's the same day I met her. Thing is, she worked morning shift. He basically handled the morning prep. First of all, he comes up there like around 7. I'm not a morning person. I'm gonna let you know that right now. I'm not truly let's put it like this. I'll wake up if I have to, but more than enough, I'm not really a morning person. But if I'm passionate about it, I'll do it. Now, as I said before in the beginning of this, it was a soul drenching job. Only thing that motivated me was the money, because I needed money to survive. And I was in my 20s at the time. But it was even worse. Because at that time, they were paying you like $9, like $8.25 to $9 an hour. So you can only imagine, like, what the hell can you do with that kind of money today? Oh wait. But I work night shift. Usually when I clock in, I'm usually put on where they usually have me is that I'm usually on the I'm usually on the first register. Always on the first register because I'm really fast. Let's put it like this. Because I'm really fast in that let's put it like this. I'm fast. I pick up things very fast. I'm a fast learner. So once I learn how to use the register, I just because of my ADHD, I had to niggerate a lot of stuff. I hate saying that word, but I had to make it to whereas not niggerate, but I had to make it my own, if that makes sense. So, so After I'm usually put on the first register, I call out an order over the mic, over the microphone. Yes, it's that type of restaurant, that type of old school restaurant that I worked at. They had a whole mic. They don't really have those type of places no more. Yes, I worked in that type of restaurant with a whole mic. I called out an order. I called out the order. When I turned around, I caught Corvina looking at me. I knew what she was thinking. Well, here's a new face. She was looking at me like, oh, she's a new face. She introduced herself to me. And then after, ironically, well, it was like, oh, it's a new face. One of the older workers, the dishwasher in the back, sweet old man. Very, very sweet old man. Very sweet. He introduced me. He introduced us, introduced Karu to her. But homegirl been up there since 7 o'clock. She want to bolt out of there and mind her business, as she should, as she should. And but like I said, I understand. But you've been there since 7:30, because I asked one of the managers once, "Hey, what's the morning shift when you do prep?" She said, "Oh, we're there from 7:30." But some of us work a whole shift, so we work from 7:30 to like 5 or 4. And back in my mind, I'm like, thought I wanted to do that, but I was like, yeah, my soul isn't ready for that just yet. Go back to the story. Right after she left, I checked the schedule at the time. Of course, check the schedule, because she gotta be mentally prepared for what she gonna have, what she gonna deal with that night. Because if you have a manager, if you ever work at fast food, everybody got that one manager that no one likes. They're either a horrible individual, or they're your middle-aged jealous woman, or your middle-aged angry man who's always angry at the world and takes it out on others. But unfortunately, I saw who Wakaru saw, who was, working at night. To find out, for the sake of this story, and of, like I said, with different names, oh, I need to do something real quick. I gotta start something. Well, all that to say, let's get this right. Yes, we're going to time lapse this. Yes, clips to you, Pink. We are time lapsing. But back to the story. Like I said, for the sake of, of names, like I said before, we're gonna call her Diamond. Now, Diamond will later become the GM, but right now she's just your normal, she's just, your regular manager that no one likes. Now, the reason why she is not liked is because, I don't like using this term, but she's an attention whore. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to use those words, but the vibe she gives, attention whore. But back to the story. Back to today's story. Like I said, Diamond is one of the most hated managers of in the entire store. No one likes her. Like, it's that bad. Even the guy who washes in the back, he don't even like her. And he's like one of the sweetest people you can meet. Really gotta mess up. You really gotta be bad if you make him hate you, but I digress. But she basically hates to see young girls, especially the pretty ones that work at the job. She always finds a way, make them mad to whereas they end up quitting. Fortunately, I was one of the many people who did that, but like I said, I digress. But as the Night Chronicles go on, basically the retelling of my Night Chronicles, you'll learn that a little later about why I quit. But of course, as you know, as every bad manager has a teacher's pet or a pet in general. For this, like I said, for the sake of not getting without using names, call her Rachel. Sorry if you're watching this. If you're watching this, my friend Rachel, I did not use your name because of that. I'm using it as a name for name purposes. That's the only name that came to mind at the time. I am so sorry if you're watching. I didn't mean it like that. Use your name like that, but back to the story. Now, Rachel is one of those people where she, butters you up, gets you on your good side, and then betrays you. She's one of those. Now, at the time, I had to calm myself down and remember, why am I here? And it, how when you go to work, you question your life choices, but then you realize why you're there. It's one of those kind of things. Basically, she questioned her life choices. Gotta realize, what motivates me to come to this establishment? And then she realized, money. Capitalism is. But I digress. But as Diamond clocked in, Rachel was like, yay, she clocked in. Meanwhile, Karu was praying at the register eternally. Yes, she was praying eternally because she already could sense an ominous presence, or it's not an ominous presence, but she can always feel like something's about to happen. I don't like it, and I don't want to be a part of it. So I'm gonna mind my business. I'm a business. That is a fact. And it creeped Karu out. It was so, let's put it like this, it was so bad that Karu/I's anxiety was up on the roof. It was that bad. And I didn't know what it was. Like, something just didn't seem right to me, and it bothered me all night and gave me anxiety. And yes, at one point in time, my anxiety was that bad, unfortunately. But ironically enough, believe it or not, this is the job when I came up with the concept of my novel version of Haru at the time where I feel like this. At the time when I was working at that establishment, I was thinking, hey, like, why don't I just make my experiences story? Very intriguing, craziness I've been through. I was like, let's make a series out this bad boy. So I went through the first, time. I was like, okay, I'm making a series. Let's do this. What name could I give it? And I was like, you know what? I couldn't think of a name for the series. I couldn't really think of a name for it at the time. I thought about at the time I was really on, you know, I was watching one of my favorite shows called Rurouni Kitchen. And my favorite character. Okay. Just text me. Alright, I'm back. Now that I'm back, let's do this. But yeah. But back to what I was saying. At the time, I was like, I have a crazy life. I'm like, I had a crazy life prior to working here. I might as well make a series out of it. And at the time, I'm like, okay, what should I name it? But at the time, back in the day, especially if you watch Tsunami back when they had like Rurouni Kenshin and Yu Yu Hakusho when they had it on there, I was like, okay, I love both of those series. Originally, I wanted her name to be Cake, had like, feel like this, not Keiko, but her original name, I want it to be like Botan or something like that, because she's one of my favorite characters. But I was like, you know what? Let me be simple. And I love Rurouni Kenshin. I love both equally, but I like Rurouni Kenshin more. Because of the love story, pulls on my heartstrings. One of my favorite series. But I was like, Karu. I love Karu. I loved how she was I loved her as a character. No. I was like, I'll name her Karu. That's what I will do. And that's what I did. I named her Karu. That's the reason why the series is called Karu. But yeah, at the time it was an early concept, I was just writing out the stories, adding my adding, it basically started out as a love story. Then the story that it is now, it started off as a slow burn love story. As you know, basically it started out with how I was a woman who did not love herself, but she had friends who, you could kind of say her friends hyped her up in a sense. Basically, it's a story about acceptance and also realizing that it's okay, and that don't let anyone judge you because no one's perfect themselves. but it also takes account of, you know, also takes an account of, her her friends who are also characters in the series, if that makes sense. But they're but yeah, they're also characters in this. Basically it's like an account of what's going on between everyone. And because of that, I was thinking at the time, like, because as the characters who are based, like the real life counterparts of my characters, of my six characters, well, eight, the other two will show up later. They have their own, put like this, they have their own arcs, in a sense, in the form of a book. Because currently, I have 4 books. The first book is about Karu herself. Second book is about Katsu and what he has going on. The third book is about Aoi. And the fourth book is about Allie and what she has going on. As I said, as the story, as the books progress, they'll all be about a certain character, and they're the star. And basically, it's like the role switch, whereas Karu's not the main character anymore. That person is the main character. She becomes a side character because it's their story, it's their arc. Back to what I was saying. I didn't have the concept just yet. So at the time, it was just the name of it was just Karu. And at the time, people, well, at the time, people were saying if you want your story to be out there, you have Wattpad. And that's what I did. I still have my Wattpad to this very day, even though, don't get me wrong, I like Wattpad. I just don't like that they do. I'm not trying to shame them or anything, but I don't Wattpad if you hear me. I do not like the fact that you deleted one of my series on your own behalf. You didn't tell me why. You just deleted it. And that kind of confuses me because I'm like, what are we doing? Why'd you delete my stuff? You know? If you ever watch this, or anyone who works for Wattpad, please inform me. Because I looked up the rules and everything. I'm getting scared because I'm like, what did I do wrong? But like I said, back to the story. But yeah, I was on Wattpad. This is before I found out about Tapas and that they have a novel feature and a comic book feature, well, webtoon feature. And before I was put on the webtoon. But yeah, like I said, back to the story. Rachel walked up to, walked up to Cara and saying like, hey, how are you doing today? In the back of Cara's mind, she's like, get out my face. For the love of God, please get out my face. Now, as she walked away, basically, as Rachel walked away, she said something smart under her breath. Now, mind you, at the time, crash out. This is before I became a retired crash out. That, you see, before I became a retired crash out. Now, I was like, you know what? I've come home. I'm trying to be a good Christian. she not, but you know what? She wasn't making it easy for me. So out of reflex, I wanted to hit her and just, take my anger out on her. But you know what? God told me, an angel was not really God. An angel told me, do not give into wrath. And I was like, okay, I won't give into wrath. I'll, I'll be a good Christian. But, you know, as my shift started, she was out and about. Rachel was out and about. She was trying to be all nice and all that stuff, but everybody on the shift knew she was. She was. They knew she wasn't a good person, if that makes sense. Like she was just trying to, she was just playing nice. But, like I said, as the shift started, Caro/I got our usuals, got our usual stuff, our usual people. But then, this Caucasian, well, at the time, handsome, I haven't seen him in years. A handsome Caucasian man came in there, and he came in really sweet, uber sweet, and ooh, he was really, really sweet, and really, he's really sweet. He was handsome, and he had tattoos. Now, basically, Karu said, "Oh, I like your tattoo," and then he showed the rest of her. He basically pulled up his sleeve and showed her the whole sleeve, and she was like, like, "Oh my god, he's handsome. He's so handsome," and she didn't think too much about it because she was intrigued by him. You know, Karu was intrigued by him, but she didn't like him. And Rachel called her. Rachel literally said, after Rachel mumbled to Diamond that, oh, she's being nothing but an attention whore. Now, mind you, remember I said I hired Crash Out at the time. But as this went on, I was like, you know what? I gotta be on my best behavior. Why am I here? And then, Carl/I asked, what can I get for you today? And he said a hamburger with ketchup only. Something about him intrigued me, which led to, kind of led to Diamond getting all up in my face. Soon after I finished taking his order, basically. What it was is that she was angry. Basically, he wasn't giving her attention because also she was at a register herself, and that she wasn't getting attention from that man and he was giving attention to me. And that really made her mad. Now, every once in a while when I tell these stories, I may say me or I may say Karu. We're all the same person. All the same person. So that's why if you ever say me or Karu, we're both the same person. As I said in the beginning. But because she wasn't getting any attention, she made me clean. I kid you not. She literally made me clean the diner room, which, okay. You think that's supposed to make me angry? I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know if she thought that was supposed to make me mad. But it didn't make me mad. It gave me more an excuse to get away from the register. Like, I don't like being on the register like that. Believe it or not, I was just good at it because I made it my own. I didn't want to be on the register all the time. I didn't like taking all those orders because I was so fast, people would always come to me. And the thing is, while yes, I didn't like it, the people loved me because I knew how to treat them. And I didn't just treat them as like another customer. They loved me. Which why it was so saddening when that's, believe it or not, let's put it like this. Me leaving caused a lot of people to leave, but as the Night Chronicles go along, you'll learn about that. But back to what I was saying. She made me clean the dining room, which I'm like, whatever. When he sat down, I started talking to him again as I was like wiping tables because he spoke. Thing is, the man spoke to me. I didn't speak to him. He just asked me questions because we had something in common, and it's that we had like a lot of things in common. But also another thing is this too. He didn't like how my manager was treating me. He didn't like me. He just had, he just felt sorry for me that I had to work under someone like her who was jealous and that she wanted to like, break me down at the job. Which I'm like, whatever, like. But and then, eventually Rachel pulled me aside and asked if I'm trying to date a customer. I'm like, no. Why would I want to date a customer? I don't have any intentions of dating a customer. That is a fact. I told her no, but then added, why do you care so much? Do you want to, like, yeah, I was like, why do you care so much? Do you want him? Like, now mind you, this woman is a married woman. She's married. But I'm like, you know what? It ain't none of my business. And then she avoided eye contact. I'm like, that's what I thought, ma'am. Now, because they had me out there doing all that, I had to wash my hands. And the guy in the back at the time, he was like, he's like, I wish she would leave you alone. Now this old man, he's really sweet. He's very protective of the young women there because he has a daughter of his own, and he doesn't want anybody to get hurt on his watch. Like I said, he's a girl dad. And he saw the way she was treating me and other girls too. Like Diamond basically was just mad that I think I don't know what she got going on. Ain't none of my business. But at the time, like she just took it out on me, and I'm like, no, ma'am, absolutely not. What we're not gonna do is take your anger out on me. Absolutely not. That is not my problem. That is your, like, I would really say that's, I wouldn't say it out loud, but I'd say it eternally that you, because of what you got going on, they ain't got nothing to do with me. And then, ironically enough, after I came back behind the register, she booted me off my register and put me in drive-thru, ironically, so I couldn't talk to anybody. But joke's on her. I got the most money that night. Joke's on her. Joke's on her. I got more money than most that night. Unfortunately, I got more money. She thought that was gonna, like, stop me. I don't know why she thought doing all that would stop little old me, ma'am. All you've done caused me. Hi. All she, man, look. she thought she, you know, made me angry and made me mad, and I'm like, no, no, you know, so like what it is that she thought I was supposed to be like, oh my god. She, let's put it like this. She thought I cared. Like, I hate to say it, but I'm extremely unbothered by a lot of things in life. And that's a problem with me. That's one of my problems. I'm extremely unbothered. And she thought that, that was going to make me mad. But I'm like, man, get your life together, please. With all due respect, please get your life together. That's not going to make me mad. Only thing that would make me mad is if you mess with my money. That's one thing you don't mess with. That's the only thing that'll make me mad, is if you mess with my money. You don't do that. You mess with my money, I will absolutely leave. That's a fact. You can do a lot of things to me, but don't mess with my money. That's all right. Please don't mess. It's not fun when I because it's fun like as I always say, it's not fun when I play with you. Not fun no more. But I digress. But it's not fun anymore. Mm. Um, not fun no more. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do today. Let me use this. I guess I am using this gradient for her hair. And yes, I am doing it. Oh god. But yeah, yeah, no. Mm-mm. But back to what I was saying about the story. She made me go to Georgia. I made more money that night than I made on the regular drawer. She got mad about that. I'm like, what are you mad about? What are you mad about? What else are you gonna be mad about? Then after she took me from over there, she put me back on my register again. Because there were more people coming over there. And the thing is, during night shift, usually depending on how things go, usually just have one person over there. They have one person on the register, and you think that, you'd have more people. But no, they don't. They just have one person on the register. Now, it'll take some time for them, but they'll have sympathy at some point. Where, put like this, when there's there's an overflux of customers coming in at night, it's out of nowhere they get this sympathy. Because, Rachel was up there with me. Now, mind you, I'm a girl's girl. She's not. So while I'm up there, taking orders, she's like being like, being snarky with me, mentioning that guy trying to talk to me. I'm not thinking much to it because I'm like, the man does not like me. He's just concerned about my well-being. That's it. No romantic feelings. None of that. But feel like this. As I said, as these chronicles, as I retell these chronicles, Rachel's gonna be in some drama herself. Put it that way. She's gonna be in some herself. And for me, it's like, oh well, got nothing to do with me. Yeah, she in some drama too. Now, note, Rachel's married, and so is Diamond. They're married, and they have kids. Both have been working for this establishment since the 90s. So you can only imagine. Only the craziness they've been doing. But yeah, you can only imagine craziness, happen back then. I'm not. Go back to the story. As all these things happen, as as people were coming in, like there was a guy who came in, and he was hitting on me, and I was trying to be the nice person and say, hey, I don't like you like that. I don't see you that way, works. But I found out at that moment, as I worked there, I found out that some guys are really sensitive about a lot of things. And that one was truly sensitive because he started talking crazy to me. And in front of my manager, of all things. Because the thing is, I can already tell. Rachel probably. The thing is, the guy liked me for a hot minute. This is before I started. Like while I was doing normal shifts, like in the morning, he would always try to talk to me, and I would always be busy. So yeah, I was always busy because I work. And as I said before, I work. I repeat, I work. And he tried to, shoot his shot, but I'm like, no. I got stuff going on. I'm trying to do my work. I'm trying to leave here at reasonable hours because I don't want to be stuck here. If you know, you know. But yeah, that's the first time I realized some men don't take rejection well. At the time, he was just calling me everything but a child of God. Okay? He was calling me everything but a child of the Father. Jesus. I'm nothing but a child of God. And I just looked. I was like, oh, so that's what we're doing? Whatever. But as I said before, something didn't seem right to me. The guy usually, doesn't go off on me. He's usually always shy when it comes down to me. But I have a feeling that Rachel said something and sparked something in him And then he cursed me out. And, I just didn't want to deal with it anymore, so I ignored him. I kept on ignoring him, and then, it wasn't bad, but I was like, They had to move me to another station for a little bit because that guy kept on bothering. That's how bad. He just kept on bothering. And it, made me mad. He was bothering me like that. And yesterday I'm making her a cute redhead. This is an old piece I did. Just changed her outfit a little bit. Wants a jean dress. We changed it into something else. Doing a winter theme. Not winter. It is almost winter, but we're doing a fall theme still. I'm doing fall themes until it's not fall no more. Basically until my ass freezes over. That's when I'll change winter stuff. That's when I change to the Christmas stuff. And also, you guys, I have plans on making Christmas merch. Just put that in there as a shameless plug. But back to the story. The thing is, now that I think about it, I should have been paying attention because she was talking to him first, trying to hook me up with him, which. But like I said, I digress. Back to the story. As that played out, after that, she tried to say, I'm so sorry that, that man did what he did to you. And, I'm like, I'm not going to follow her up because I'm trying to keep my job, not lose it. I'm trying to keep it, not lose it. But as that night went on, Diamond took me to the office and asked me what was that about. And, I was like, I didn't do anything. So Rachel spoke to him first, and then he spoke to me, and he went off on me. So ask her. And she said, I will. I was like, okay. Is that? But the thing is, she made me sign a form about it. Now that I think back, I shouldn't have signed that form because it ain't my damn problem. But at the time, I was like, whatever. Which, today, I shouldn't have signed it. That's not my damn problem. It was not my problem. It never was. So back to the story again. As the night went on and I did my shift, there were a few people who were on the shift with me who were like. Also, another thing is this: people on the shift, they felt kind of bad for me because it was my first time doing night shift, and she's over there being a horrible individual, being mean to me. They were like, "Don't worry." She's like that all the time, and I'm like, y'all act like that's okay, and they were like, yeah, but don't worry about it. After that, I heard the fresh gossip about a few things, such as, Rachel was with somebody else's man, was sleeping around with somebody's husband. Diamond was too. She was just basically talking to like married men too. And I'm like, oh, that's what we doing. And because of that, knowing the creative mind I am, put that in my stories. I was like, this is the kind of drama I'm talking about. I was a messy person at one point. I'm not messy. I'm not messy, but I am petty. But I'm coming to a point in my life. I ain't like that no more. Well, actually, God's been working on me. So I'm not as petty as I used to be. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, why are you sleeping around with somebody? Why are you sleeping around with somebody else's husband? Like, I don't believe in sharing like that. I believe in sharing. I don't believe in sharing like that. Nobody want nobody else's. Nobody else's. That's just an unheard, thing for me. I'm like, and then ironically enough, I heard that the gentleman thing is he was the manager over all the stores of the region, and he was coming in for like an inspect, like inspect the store. So I'm not thinking of it. But once I heard that, like the older people who were working a shift for me, they were all happy about it. I should have took that as a red flag because they called him Mister. And, I'm like, there's nothing wrong, but I live in the South, and that's fine and all. But next time, I'm gonna let you know how old he is. When I tell the next story. But basically, as all this plays out, I didn't think much to it. She's like, well, he's he's this and that, and everybody was like fearful of him, and I'm confused because I'm not with that. But as it all played out, the night was coming to a close. There was this one couple. There was this one couple that came in, and this very day, I still laugh at this couple. Now, this couple came in. It was towards closing, and I was like, y'all know we close at like midnight, right? We're open from 10 in the morning, midnight. Y'all know you gotta leave. And you know, me knowing that I can't control my face for the life of me, I looked at them and said with a deadpan expression, we, and I said, we're open from 10 to midnight, right? 10 in the morning to midnight. They said, wait, really? I said, yes. Yes, we are. And I went from around the register and pointing at the door because the hours were on the door. As I always say, and what I've always said during the pandemic, reading is so fundamental. It's so fundamental. Why do people lack it so much? Beyond me. You can't be that. You can't be. You can't be stupid. And as I always say, you gotta pick a struggle, bro. You can't be dumb and stupid. But you know what? I ain't calling that. I kept that deep within my head because I'm like, leave. I'm trying to clear up so I can leave. I'm trying to leave here at 12. And you over there sitting over there like it's okay. Don't you see nobody else is in there? Leave. And then you know what made it so crazy? They were high. So basically, all the leftover food we had, they ate basically usually at night because we have such an access, we can take it home with us and we can eat it. Like we have like a whole bunch of burgers left over from the night shift. Sometimes we'd have chicken left over from the night shift. Like chicken sandwiches. We can make those and take them to the house. We were making sandwiches and stuff on the way. Like basically, we like with the fries too. We'd have so much stuff left over sometimes because the thing is, we're supposed to throw it out, but depending on the manager and how things go, sometimes like or the people in the back, sometimes they'll be like, "Hey, I don't want to throw out this food because somebody can eat it. Hey, you can eat it." I was like, "Okay, cool." I took some food home with me that night. Cause I didn't like, I was like, oh man, we could take home food. I'm like, come with it. So from then on, I would take food home with me. And I'm like, cool. Didn't think about it much. Didn't think about it much. Good. I didn't think about it much. But yeah, didn't think about it. What about blue? About my business? But I'm minding my business. Took my food and went on with my day. But yeah, all that played out. I went on with my day. Went on with my night, basically. I waited for whoever was picking me up that night just get me because I was over that shift so badly because she made me mad. But that couple, let's put it like this. Now that couple, they weren't mad at me. They were mad at the manager because even though I said it with a deadpan expression, they could tell like I was tired and that I don't mind like I would say, hey, we end at this certain such time. Hey, like I would say like, hey, such and such. I'd say it like that because I'm trying to be respectful, but because how my voice sounds, some people think I'm sarcastic. But basically, I was like, hey, we close at this time. Hey, maybe you can order something real quick, then you can leave if that makes sense. But as I said, they were high as a kite, and they ordered like four cheeseburgers, four hamburgers, and like 2 or 3 hot dogs. I was like, it was so bad that I had to call out the order because my manager was looking at me. Diamond was looking at me at the time. I was like, so I had to make the order. So I called out the order. They all looked at me like that one well, nowadays where they have it to whereas that one person calls, they all look like I'm not making that stuff like that. It's one of those I'm not making that. Get the f- out my face. They were doing that before they were talking, doing that stuff kind of day. Yeah, back when I was working in like the service, like food and stuff like that, we were doing that way before they were doing that. Like we would really look at them like, get out my face. But thankfully, I didn't work back there. I worked front. Thank God. But at some point, I had to learn how to work back there. Unfortunately, I had to learn how to work back there. Believe it or not, I had to learn how to work back there. I mean, I wasn't mad. It was actually a very fun experience to learn how to work back there. It's really fun. But it depends on who's training you. That's the catch. Because not everybody can train somebody. But back to what I was saying. Um, as all that played out, we had to make the food. And like they have like those videos like on TikTok where the people are screaming, saying leave and all that stuff. Thing is, I said that deep down in my spirit. Somebody else said, kid you not, get the out of here. Take your high ass to take your high ass to Sonic. What the hell's wrong with you? Get out of here. I'm trying to go home, bro. He said, hey man, I'm trying to go home, bro. I'm trying to detox away from this. I'm trying to detox from this place, and you over here making orders. Get out. I'm sorry. It wasn't funny, but it was funny to me. I was like, oh Lord. Like, are you okay, bro? Like, are you okay? Like, one was like, blink twice if you need help, bro. You know, I'm not like, I'm like, what you got going on? But yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, come on now. Like, don't yell at them. If I can't look at, this is how I see things. If I can't look at them crazy, you can't yell at. Because sometimes the customers be saying the wildest things. Oh, I forgot to add this part in with the customer. Now, a customer literally told me, I kid you not, I want a cheeseburger without cheese. That's one of the things I forgot. It wasn't that customer. It was the last customer. It said, I want a cheeseburger with no cheese. Now, I'm tired. And when I get tired, God forbid my voice, God forbid whatever comes in my mouth can be really offensive. Now, mind you, I literally looked them dead in their face and told them, do you mean a hamburger? No. I said a cheeseburger with no cheese. I questioned all my life choices that day. Cause I'm like, you can't be that stupid, bro. You can be stupid, but not that stupid. Like, answer me that with a straight face. You can't be that stupid now. All I'm saying, you can't be that stupid. You can't be that stupid. Sorry. You can't be that stupid. But, as I said before, crazy. Craziness thereof. I'm like, you can't be that crazy. You can't be that stupid either. But we live in a, but I live in the United States. Let that sink in for a moment. God bless us. All we can do is just pray at this point. Don't worry, I'm a Christian, but I'm not an evangelical one. And also, I don't force my beliefs on others. Get that out. Maybe a Christian, but I'm one of those Christians that, I try to, like, I don't force my beliefs on others. Sinner in his own, as a sinner in her own right, I ain't doing all that. Like I said, I question my life choices every day. Because I did a lot of things wrong, but I know that I've asked for forgiveness for what I've done. That's for what all that to say. Yes, they literally asked me, I want a cheeseburger with no cheese. What's the other everything. I want a cheeseburger with no cheese. I want a cheeseburger with no cheese. I want a chicken sandwich with no chicken. And no, oh no, that's not it. I want a chicken club that we have at the place. We have a chicken club with no, with nothing on it but ketchup. I literally had to look, person, with all the strength I had in me not to say anything. I I watched a video on TikTok a few days ago where they had this lady where, well, for them, they asked, I want egg bites, and do they really have eggs in the egg bites? This girl looked at her with it like, are you for real? And whoever, I think that was a manager, put a piece of paper over her face with a smiley face on it. Because look, I wish I had that going on when I worked. Because best believe that night really made me question all my life choices. Like, you can't be that. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, please don't get high no more. Because you're about to make me lose a brain cell. And it's not fun, no. And it's not fun for me because I'm over here trying to keep it together. I'm about to lose a brain cell listening to you. What's wrong with you? Girl, I'm about to lose a brain cell talking to you. Because there's no way. You can't be that stupid. But like I said, they were high. They were high, but let's just say, we're gonna, during these, like I said, we're gonna see that couple. But this time around, the thing is, they weren't, angry with me. They were angry at the manager. Yeah. Feel like this. They started, you know, saying things to the manager like, why is she working like this? And all kind of basically trying to find out as the shift came to a close and those people were there, trying to find out they they were watching her the whole time. They've been watching her for a hot minute. This is before I knew anything. They've been watching her for a hot minute. How she treats people. So I'm like, oh. It was just, and all I can do is just look like, oh, girl, I don't like you. You had that kind of drama going on. Cause I'm like, honey, there's no way that you thought that was okay. But yeah, that couple, they're gonna come back around. But after they left, I heard what they said. They said, I can't believe still at it again. As like, I can't believe she's still at it again. What will we do? Well, I wonder. They said, I wonder what will happen to, Rachel and Diamond. Because they're not good people. And, from that moment, I was like, but, as I said, as the night came to a close, we were just, cleaning up and doing as we do. Um, like I said, they made me take my break earlier. I forgot to add this. As I was on break at the time, and I was working there, I asked for 2 chicken sandwiches. One to eat when I go on break, the other one to eat when I go home. All right, paid for it, got it together. Now, mind you, that's what I'm looking for. And because of that, and because of that, you know, but I got all that together because when I get up, because at the time, and I still do have a high metabolism, I get hungry a lot. And they were like, "You need to stop ordering all that food," and back, and I look at them and say, "Don't tell me what I can and cannot eat." It's like me telling you to lose weight, but I tell it, tell you that. Like I said, I am a retired crash out. But at the time, I was reading a series that came out at the time, Midnight Poppyland, when it became an original. I was in love with that story. It was toxic as ever, but I loved it. I was in love. I was in love with that series for years after that. You know, I even became her Patreon. But yeah, love the series. Love the series to this very day. But yeah, I got put on to Midnight Poppyland. I read that on my break, and after we finished cleaning up, I read it again. But I also at the time, I have ADHD, so I'm fixated on the series for a bit. I want to see because I heard through the grapevine that the original version was raw. You know, I love a good raw version. Don't get me wrong, I love a good raw version. I went down that rabbit hole. Shouldn't have done that. Going down that rabbit hole, man. I would see things that God doesn't want me to see. Okay, we're seeing things that God didn't want me to see. You know, my skin color, but and just roll with it. But that's just I went down that rabbit hole. I found the original version. Man, it was so raw. I felt like an old church lady who seen who just watched the most vulgar thing on God's green earth, saying, "Oh my lord," saying things like, "Oh, got me watching, got me watching over here." I'm like, "You really want to know about what you watching?" That looks weird. So wait, what is going on here? Okay, that's what I thought was going on. All right, let me fix that because that got me so confused. Get that fixed up because look, I was extremely. back to the coloring. But you know, yeah. So I was like, on a bike. I'm like, yikes, on a bike. You know what? Make her braider. So you know, didn't think much about it. But at the time, you know, after I read Midnight Populin and the, you know, the raw version that I saw, I was like, oh, oh. How about I didn't go down that rabbit hole again? Until another series I like came out, in which I'm like, can't go to. Sometimes I realize it's not good to go down a rabbit hole. You ain't supposed to be down. You know, shouldn't have been down that rabbit. That was a treacherous one. That was one I shouldn't have been down, but I gotta remember the name of it. Name of the series first. I follow them. I subscribe to their series on Webtoon. I gotta remember it. Go in here and look. It's not that one. Not no strings. Definitely not that. Not Demon's Wish. It eludes me and it makes me mad. Where are you? Where are you? Not Chasing Red. Not Made to Hire. Actually, I read Made to Hire on Wattpad. Not Lovely Hell. Not Mage Made in Hell. Not Unholy Blood. Definitely isn't My Dear Cold Blooded King. No, that was my series too. Definitely wasn't Freaking Romance. I gotta find it and it's making me mad. I have to find it because it's angering me. It's definitely not Summoning Gone Wrong. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Flatmates with Benefits. I read Flatmates with Benefits on her Patreon. I went down that rabbit hole. I was like, I can't do it. I can't go back down the rabbit hole. That rabbit hole I can't go down. I'm not even that bold to do something to do that. I'm not even that to like play that out on like in general. But I mean, I was thinking of I feel like this. I was thinking about going that route, but I was like, Webtoon is not. Webtoon is like Webtoon is very finicky on what you can put on there. So Isaac can't put that on there. So, like I said, I have a Patreon. I will put more stuff on it, but in the meantime, I gotta create more content for it, in which I'm doing. So, with all the madness that happened, my first night doing Nightshift, which from now on, I will tell you that there will be more I do this series, the more crazier it gets. In many ways, you would have to say you're praying. That's how bad. That's how crazy Nightshift was. You would literally be praying for me every minute you get. But yes, let me get the rest of this together first. Let me put my music in my ears. And in the meantime, I'll finish this up. Don't mind the rattling in the background. Prior to doing this stream, I was eating a whole bunch of snacks. I need to stop snacks. I need to eat snacks. Stop eating snacks and relax. Exercise more. Lord knows I need to exercise more. But I digress. The crap. should have labeled that, but I don't feel like labeling stuff. Sorry, you guys. No, that's not what I want. Great, I'm almost done. All right. I am done. And with that, I call this selfie shot. I call this selfie shot. I have another version, but with what it's what they dress. And it's a whole person's color, like shaded different skin color. All but still red hair, same red hair. But this is the piece and this is the final product. And to end the stream, my name is Red Barbaradia, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Don't do me like this. Oh, don't do me like this. Don't do this with me ending screen. Be on your best behavior. Nah, it's not doing anything, man. I'm not stressed over it. Bye, you guys.